Japanese and Western cultures and ideas mixed up in several studios recently. Now we are here with Rhodri Broadbent from Dakko Dakko, which is a Japanese expression, right?
Yeah, Dakko Dakko is what a kid says when they want to be picked up and hugged by their parents. So it's kind of an uplifting name that I got from my godchild in Japan.
But the main game you're working on now is not a Japanese concept, right?
No, this game is entirely abstract concept. Really, it's about a character who's running around a space station trying to find his lost cat.
Yeah. And it's called Scram Kitty?
It's called Scram Kitty and his buddy on rails. You actually play as the buddy on rails who's you're traveling around this gigantic space station exploring, shooting all of the enemies that are trying to stop you from getting to your cat. They're all mice. Obviously it's a cat versus mouse thing. Yeah, so it's an action platform shooting game based on an interesting kind of rail-based platforms.
I've read that you thought about the game concept when you saw the Wii U gamepad for the first time.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The second screen of the Wii U is really interesting to us, and we thought that sometimes when you're playing a game and your family or maybe your brother or sister is watching, they can kind of get involved in the game just by just because they're enjoying they wouldn't want to play it themselves. They don't want to pick up the controller. They find that stressful, but they just like watching it. So we had this idea that because I love handheld gaming, and so because you'd be able to play the whole game on the gamepad in your hands, then the TV could be doing other things that are just kind of entertainment for the rest of the room, as well as extra information for you if you want it. But you don't really need to have that. It's there as a sort of extra entertainment, and then your family can kind of help you and give hints. And Scram Kitty exists in the TV, kind of broadcasting out to the world about how you can save him or her. I think it's a him. And so yeah, so that's the idea behind Scram.
You think we can expect new gameplay mechanics by using these two screens that haven't seen before?
Well, the mechanics of the game are fairly new themselves in that you're constrained to the rails where you can move, and you're always going to be shooting relative to the rail that you're attached to. So in terms of the shooting and the platforming, it's already got its own sort of unique mechanics. But the two-screen system means that we've got this extra layer of entertainment, as we like to think of it, for other people who can then participate by either giving you advice or hints or just kind of reacting, just simply laughing along with when you succeed or when you fail, and the cat comes on the screen and reacts, and there'll be a live feed of information about your combos and your scores, and hopefully lots of live information which we're able to provide. So we're trying a lot of like meta information to come alongside the game, which can provide a second source of entertainment for people in the room with you.
I think we haven't seen the real exploitation or taking advantage of the two screens concept yet, also from other developers.
Yes, I think that there's a lot of people who are just getting to terms with now what's possible with it. I think if you played Nintendo Land, you started to see, if you ever played it 5-player, then you start to realize the possibilities. But there's alternate ways to think about it, not just about direct gameplay, but as just the fact that you have this extra outlet for how else a game can affect the person who's playing. Even just having the sound coming from the TV, different sounds coming whilst you're playing here, can add an extra dimension of sort of involvement between you. So the fact that you've got this cat that you're trying to save who's reacting is going to give you extra impetus and drive you forwards, even though you're completely fixated on this action game in your hands. So hopefully other people will have sort of this sort of attitude towards the two-screen concept. And
it might be easier even than the Wii remote and the motion controls. That it looks like they didn't took all the advantage that they could with the hardware. It looks a bit easier now with this different approach.
I would hope so. I always appreciate it when other developers think about how the best they can use the technology that's available to them, and not just make the most beautiful game, but also the most inventive and interesting games. And I think Wii U has so many different, it's like a toy box. There's so many different things that you can do if you want to just try making something a little bit different than what we've had before. Then yeah, it's actually very similar to when the DS was launching. I was working on Star Fox Command, and just the new ways that we could think about, this was when touch controls were fairly new in games, and the new ways we could think about controlling video games was really exciting at that time, and so many new things started coming out. And we're at a similar point again now with Wii U. We're at a point where you don't really know how it's going to go. You start developing it, but that's part of the fun of the development of it. So you try something out and you think, oh, it didn't work quite how I wanted, but I've just worked something else out about it, and now I can go with that. And it becomes a very dynamic process where the system and the game design sort of evolve together. It's very rewarding, I find.
Up to now, we only mentioned Nintendo games, games from Nintendo platforms. But Dakko Dakko also works or has some PS Vita titles, could be?
Right. Yeah, we're putting out the 2D the HD adventures now of Rotating Octopus Character and Floating Cloud God Saves the Pilgrims in HD for PlayStation Vita, which we released on PSP Minis a few years ago. They were quite popular, but now we've really taken them one level up, and we've given them a fresh coat of paint, and we've redone the sound. They're really yeah, they're really beautiful now on the Vita. It's very exciting to be bringing them out for a bigger audience to play.
You previously mentioned Star Fox, and that's from Q Games, right?
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about your past on a so singular studio, which is in Japan but mixes different cultures, works mainly for Nintendo and also Sony. So what can you remember from that?
Oh, well, it's the majority of my career so far, so I remember a lot. But Q Games is a really interesting and quite amazing company in that it's just sat there in the middle of Kyoto in old Japan sort of thing, and yet it's so high tech and forward looking, and so yeah, mixed up in terms of the cultures. There's people from Spain, there's people from Italy, there's people from America and from the UK. So it's very fun in terms of getting different perspectives on game development and different ideas. But my first job at Q Games was working on Star Fox Command, and so I was working very closely with Nintendo producers who, for years, I'd been playing their games, and so it was kind of an amazing experience to have like the guy who designed some Zelda bosses just was suddenly the guy who was telling me whether or not what I was doing was okay, and yeah, that was a pretty big deal. So yeah, that was really fun. And then after Star Fox came out, Dylan had the idea to make his own series for the PlayStation 3, which was just at the time just launching. And so that's where Pixel Junk came about, and I moved from being a programmer to being the designer on the Pixel Junk games, and that was an amazing experience which shaped pretty much everything I do now, because it was all about digital download games, it was all about smaller scope with a more tight focus, and sort of bringing back the way video game development used to be before everything became so expensive and big budget and focused on certain key genres. Yeah.
So, especially Star Fox, it's a game and a genre I especially love. Every single game. So, do you think it's a concept you would try to replicate on a new game on your own, separated from the franchise?
No, I'm not sure we'll do a space shooter like Star Fox Command in the near future. We've got a lot of ideas around the two screens at the moment that we're really excited about, but none of them has yet been a 3D space adventure. But I think there's other studios who are better suited to doing that. I hope Nintendo gives us a new Star Fox at some point in the future.
So working so close to Nintendo also means working along with Shigeru Miyamoto, right? For one day.
He came into the office for one day. This story is going around a lot at the moment, but yeah, he came to the office just to meet the developers of Star Fox, to have a look at what we were doing, and to kind of help out with some design issues that we were having, because, as I say, the DS was so new at the time. So yeah, it was a very nice day when obviously I got to meet one of my childhood heroes who I really respected, and it was fun.
Did you say anything about this story?
Yeah, this story is, I've said everywhere now. Well, I got a bit embarrassed because the whole company was staring at me, that's all. But yeah, it was but overall it was an amazing experience. He signed my DS, and I have the most incredible original DS now. So as someone who's played the majority of his back catalogue, it's nice for me to have met him in that situation. I hope I meet him again, but this time I'll be a bit less embarrassed.
That's a really nice Japanese shirt, right?
Yes, this is from the King of Games people. They have a license with Nintendo. I think they make some really really lovely T-shirts. If I could only wear one brand, it would definitely be King of Games.
Okay, thank you very much. Looking forward to Dakko Dakko projects.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to releasing it so you can play it.